Hello, good morning, and welcome to episode number 3 of the Red Dot podcast. This is Richa. I'm a PCOS nutritionist.
Hi, I'm Namrita. I'm an IT professional and a Sujok therapist.
So, in this episode, we are going to dive deeper into yet another plane of our being or level of our body called the Manomaya Kosha. And this whole Red Dot podcast series is about the periods, the menstrual cycle of the women, and women's hormonal health. So, before starting, Namrata, do you want to share why this is called the Red Dot podcast?
Okay,
How did you
that's
know about
yes. So we were just discussing that, we want to start this talk and share our experience with people who may also be struggling with period problems and so many other issues. And we were looking for a name for this podcast for maybe 2 weeks, but
Yeah.
something was just not striking. We tried a lot of things, and then suddenly it was like a memory came up of how women check with each other, whether uh, there is a spot on their back when they are going through periods, and they are outside so that they don't feel ashamed or अरे spot तो नहीं है देखना जरा just check. So that just brought me red spot, but how spot is considered as such a negative term, and we wanted this to be a positive one, so we made it into the red dot. And maybe that's the first thing you see when you get your periods. Also, you see a red dot.
Yeah, yeah,
and and it just struck with us, and I think it caught on.
yeah, absolutely. It definitely struck with me because you came up with it suddenly. It was quite sudden, I feel, and it just felt right. So, yeah, this is the name. And now this is how I live most of my life and most of my decisions, also, believe it or not, with, with my gut because I trust my emotions, back when I was growing up, it was all about, reasoning, logic, because that's how our education system also trains us. And that there has to be reason behind everything.
Yeah.
But as I lived more and more, I understood कि यार reason और planning करके क्या ही होने वाला है. मतलब life में जो होना है कुछ अलग ही होता है. And I think our logical mind is just a tool for us to support our emotions. Like at least for me, I don't know how it is for you, Namrita, but when I get a gut feeling, I get a motivation to act on something or do something like this podcast. It was all motivation, no planning. It just feels right. So yeah, that's how I do it. And yeah, then after that, my reason starts kicking in. Okay, how do I go about doing this? And I think as humans, we don't realize how much, but a lot of our decision making is actually emotional. Whether it is buying something, or buying impulse, or choosing a partner, or
Definitely.
yeah. So, yes, that also brings us to today's topic, which is emotions, but it is not just emotions. There's a lot more to Manomaya Kosha. So, why don't you share, Namrata, what is your understanding of Manomaya Kosha?
Yeah. So actually, just people who also know yoga, and also we said that we will be diving deep into the koshas. And after last episode was Annamaya Kosha, which is the physical body made of the earth element, food, water, etc. And next comes prana, but we wanted to dive into Manomaya Kosha first because uh, Manomaya Kosha is the mental body, and a lot of issues that we see today that are related to periods and how women experience periods altogether is is exactly what this layer is dealing with. This level of existence is dealing with. This energy body is dealing with, and that is why we wanted to tell people about Manomaya Kosha first. So it's
Right.
actually the third level of or the sheath of body
Yes,
in
yes,
the koshas, and
right.
it's called the mental body. And the word Manomaya Kosha comes from Manas. Uh, Manas is the Sanskrit term which basically means memory. And this mental layer is composed of the experiences that you're drawing from all your sensory organs in your environment, whatever information or whatever it is that you are sensing through your body, through your senses, the five senses. Um,
Yes.
that experience and how you are drawing experience and what you are drawing from it, that is the chitta.
Right.
That is what Manomaya Kosha is composed of, and the final level of association with Manomaya Kosha, how you can identify it, is that you feel a sense of individuality or an identity that you create
Yeah.
from these experiences. And these three components are mainly what Manomaya Kosha is comprised of. So the sensory input that you get from your environment, the memory that you have of how to treat that input, what to draw from it, the experience
Right.
you derive from it, and the sense of self that you feel. I will not call it ego because again, ego is a very misconstrued term.
Yeah.
It is somewhat the ego, but it is mostly of what you think that your identity is.
Right.
So
Right.
a lot of things go on in the Manomaya Kosha, and any disturbances in this kosha, in this mental body, is experienced through our emotions, mainly
Yes.
through our emotions. And everyone who has periods, they know what kind of an emotional roller coaster it is. And I think that's why we wanted to associate this layer and address it first, because there's
Yeah.
so many people who are experiencing PMS. And PMS, a lot of people use it like as a ticket to act out, but I wouldn't call it that, uh, because till date I don't think so anybody has properly defined what PMS is. So there have been a lot of researches, but there are no conclusions. And I think a few years ago or a decade ago, PMS was also transferred to another term called PMDD, or
Okay.
dysphoric disorder, premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And there was a range of symptoms that people have to classify it to be a PMDD. So women don't know the experiences or the emotions that they're feeling. Why is it happening?
Yes.
Firstly. Second, what is it? Can they associate it with something?
Right.
Thirdly, is there a solution, and can they control it even?
Right.
So you might have, I mean, I don't know how many people, but I think I would take a chance to interact with our viewers. How many
Yeah.
of you have heard that, oh, are you on your period? Just because you're you're throwing a tantrum, or I don't know, you're acting out, and you're angry. You're just angry because things are not in place, and
Yeah.
people are, and you're not on your period, and people coming and saying, "Are you on your period?" It's
Yeah.
so
Right.
annoying.
It is so annoying. It just makes me more angry. That no, I'm not on my period. It is actually you, the way you're acting, or yeah.
Or the way the situation is. And
Right.
uh, if there are any people
Yeah, yeah,
listening,
yeah. So I'm
and
checking for the comments.
okay,
So please type in what are your experiences of PMS, and if it has happened to you, someone has asked you if you are on your periods. So yeah, only just last week, no, this week only I put up in my story that now my day 2, day 3 of the period was over, and I was just feeling like a phoenix rising out of ashes. That's literally how I feel every time. Those because that is when your estrogen is kicking in. Okay, so drawing in from the diagram we shared in the last podcast, now the hormones are actually kicking back. It's going to make you feel more motivated. It's going to make you feel like, okay, let me start on that project that I was thinking about. And Namrata, after last episode, someone said to me, "Yeah, I feel the energy fluctuations." The diagram that we shared, where
hmm
the sex hormones are just moving up and down. And she said, "I wish there was a way that I could stabilize it." and I could feel that energy I feel around ovulation all throughout the month.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I said that that's not natural and that's not required also, just like how we have the seasons in a year. It is you cannot expect the summertime sunshine to shine all throughout the year. There's going to be
Yeah,
cloudy days, there's going to be autumn, then there's going to be
yeah,
winter, and it's all about
exactly.
enjoying each season. And I think this reason why we are doing the whole podcast is so that we can enjoy each season and see lesser of those PMS symptoms, because when you understand it better, when you know what to expect, when you are healthy in your mind and your body,
Hmm.
trust
Hmm.
me, that time 1 week before the period or during the period, it doesn't has to be so agonizing for yourself or people around you. When you
Exactly.
understand how to handle it and know yourself better, it can actually be a good, pleasurable experience, and you can enjoy each season, whether it's raining or shining, or the leaves are being shed.
Exactly. And I think that's what the theme of our podcast is also, how to have a happy period
Yeah,
and not be so traumatized by the whole experience, because it can be a normal experience just like your day-to-day life,
yeah, yeah,
even though you're bleeding
yeah,
from,
yeah.
yeah. So, yes. So speaking of the experience,
Yeah.
the experience and the mental body, and how we are associating periods with it.
Hmm.
I think I would start by asking you a question. Uh, we both have had issues in our menstrual cycle, and I'm sure a lot of people who are listening to this also have it. Uh, I would like to ask you, was did you ever think about it when you go back in time, that there was a particular moment or there was a particular incident or an event that happened after
Hmm.
which
Hmm.
your period problems started, or started to manifest physically or
Hmm.
emotionally?
Hmm. So I wouldn't say there was any one incident, and
Mhm.
my period problem had always been period pain, number one, and then the long period cycles. But period pain was there right from the first period that I had.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
think those small incidents which did happen happened even before I hit puberty.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, associating a lot of shame around the topic of periods, like when the family members would change the channel, okay, or when you ask someone like a male family member about periods, or ye kya hai mama, and he would say mummy ko pucho. So then you're like, and you are just 4 or 5 years old, right? And then you're like, oh, okay, this is not something you talk about with a man. You only talk about it to a woman.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these incidents, it gave an idea, uh, because most of your programming and how you handle emotions is done by the age of 4 and 5. So it was seeded right there itself. And I do now. I just remembered one incident where I remember my mom had a severe pain. I didn't know that time whether it is because of periods or what, but she had called the doctors and all. So maybe I saw that, and that was also seeded. And again, I was maybe in fourth standard or so, and nobody told me like why exactly the doctors are being called. And I was not even, mom was in her bedroom, I was not even seeing her. So it was totally in the dark. So then, yeah, when you have these information gaps, I think you fill it up with your own stories, and the stories that a 5-year-old kid can build up, which has no logic. And the funny part is that it sticks with you through your adulthood as well. So maybe the story of pain and of shame started there itself, even before I hit puberty.
Okay. Uh, I think I also relate to that because in general we are shunned. It's like a shunned topic. There's a lot of taboo around it, and in the Indian society there are a lot of myths also, that you're not supposed to do this, you're not supposed to sit here. Puja,
Hmm.
for example, you're not supposed to do puja,
Right.
Bhagwan apavitra ho jayenge and all of that.
Right.
There's so much taboo around it, and I used to feel so hackled by it,
Yeah.
uh, by seeing my mom, adhere to all those customs.
Hmm.
And when I got it first, uh, I was almost scared, to
Yeah.
even say it to my mom,
Yeah.
because that will take away my freedom of moving about freely.
Okay.
And so I saw periods as something that will, restrict me,
Hmm.
and it will take away my freedom, sort of.
Hmm.
And I will have to follow some rules. And
Right.
as as teenagers, you don't want to follow rules.
Yeah.
So and I think since then I've always had some or the other period issues,
Hmm.
because of the way I was viewing my periods, the kind of
Hmm.
perception I had, so the
Hmm.
sensory input that I was getting from my environment, and the conditioning I had, I was drawing experience from it. Okay,
Right.
my periods were not painful. My periods were not at all painful. I never had any physical experience as such,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
mentally, it was uh, it was quite agonizing for me.
Hmm.
I experienced the confusion.
Hmm.
I experienced some brain fog, some
Hmm.
mental unclarity. A lot of traumas used to surface during periods
Right. Right.
because your whole experience is kind of magnified. And if you associate periods with something equal to stress, then that's the kind of experience you will have during your
Right.
periods also. And that's the kind of hormones that will be magnified, released, and
Yeah. Right.
the mental experience you're building around it, basically.
True.
So I'm sure people might also have experienced, life happens. You
Right.
might uh, have had a breakup or a heartbreak,
Right.
um, or say you lost somebody, um, or something happened, something unfortunate happened with you,
Hmm. Hmm.
any event of eve teasing, or I mean, I've heard from my friends, and I can trace it back to an event where they were maybe eve teased, or any such account, in buses or metros, or
Hmm.
some, or they wwere stalked or they were followed.
Hmm.
It kind of brings you back into the shell. So
Hmm.
it
Right.
it, put- it almost is equal to that having being a woman and having female sexual parts is like a crime, and
Right.
you feel like that, you kind of start equating and conditioning yourself
Right.
into that experience.
Yeah.
So it's very unfortunate, and I think that's why your system or your organs are also, your cells are basically giving that input. So
Correct.
again, I think mental body is not just mind and a
Yeah.
brain experience, it's a whole body experience. Your
Correct.
whole body carries memory, right? Like right from your DNA, your ancestral memory is being carried in your DNA and manifesting in you, like the way you look, basically. For example, it's a very basic
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
The way you look, it's a genetic memory of how your forefathers might have looked, what
Right.
all abilities you have. And in the same way, there's a lot of generational trauma also that is passed from our ancestors, and how maybe their generation have experienced periods, or
Yeah.
how they have experienced feminine sexuality as well.
True. True.
So I'm not sure. Have you come through any cases? I know you coach a lot of people on
Yeah.
PCOS, and
Yeah.
you don't just work with nutrition as an aspect. You also work on the mental body and the traumas that they're having
Right.
as an aspect. And you
Right.
see that holistic approach for treatment, right?
Yeah. Correct.
So have you come across any such cases?
Yes, a lot of time a woman will say that my irregular period started after a certain event. It could be marriage because they moved to a completely new place within a new family.
Mm.
and maybe the in-law situation is stressful for them then, or it could be when they moved out of house, or even after some incidents. But most women are not aware of it, that it is after, or it was after a particular incident, or like what was happening around them when they started seeing the symptoms of PCOS, or irregular periods, or painful periods, all of that.
Yeah.
So yes, I do see that, but also I see a lot of women are not aware, and even I was not aware until I did that trauma work with my teacher, with my guru. Uh, all these things were hidden to me, and it was uh, just something random when I would get triggered, angry, or why I would have painful periods. So definitely, and also your Manomaya Kosha, you're right. It is a part of your body. It is enmeshed with your body. It's not like the mind and body are two separate things, or mind is just limited to your brain or some part of your body. And you can feel it, right? When we say emotions, it is coursing through your veins. When you feel the anger, you feel it in different parts of your body. When you feel
Yeah.
calm, you feel it
Yeah.
different.
So, can you see the comments, Richa? Because I think I will take this opportunity to interact with the audience
Yeah,
again.
yeah,
And uh, have you ever felt this gnawing feeling, this vacuum feeling in your gut when you're experiencing sadness or a grief or a moment of grief, and
yeah. Right.
you know, or when you're feeling anger, you feel like something is gonna explode.
Hmm.
So there are actual physical feelings that manifest with your emotions, the stress you are going through, or the experience you're having, the emotions you're having. You're happy, you feel so light and nice, but when you're sad, you feel so heavy and you feel like
Right.
ये धरती
Right.
फट जाए और मैं उसमें समा जाऊं. you know so your emotions guide a lot of your physical experiences, and that's what is the core of today's topic also, of how
Right.
your emotions and your trauma, if any trauma you've faced, or in general, if any stress you're facing on a day to day basis, how
Hmm.
that is affecting your periods, and how it is in your hands that you can take
Yeah.
control of it.
True.
And yeah, you don't need to depend on any third party or any third person
Yeah.
to get help about it. You
Yeah.
can yourself control.
Yeah.
And we were very fortunate to have had such teachers who have helped us work on our trauma. So if you think that maybe there was any incident or event and you need to resolve, you can see a therapist, because once I think you start speaking up, if it, as and when the trauma goes on in your life, and some years have passed by, you keep shutting down, you
Hmm.
keep drawing these boundaries around you, and you stop expressing.
Right.
And the more you stop expressing, the more you feel like nobody will understand you, and you keep going back into the shell. So you're
Right.
suppressing yourself, your emotions, your thoughts, your experience more and more. And the more
Right.
suppression will happen, the more these hormonal imbalances will keep on manifesting in your body in some way or the other.
Right. Right. True. And yeah, it is also about what kind of story you are telling yourself
Right.
about sexuality, about femininity. Like I shared that talk of Vidya Balan with you. It was like just
Yes.
a piece of her interview. So where she said that it was her suppressing her feminine powers, or femininity, which led to
Mm,
her problems with
mm,
PCOD, PCOS.
mm, mm,
So I think all of us can look into it, like how do we feel about the feminine powers, or being feminine? How do we feel about periods? What are the stories we are telling ourselves? And this does not mean that if you are having PCOD or period pain that it's your fault. It's not your fault, but maybe it's a story that was made by a 5-year-old girl, okay, and we did not relook into it. So it's not your fault, but yeah, it is in your power, and it is your responsibility to understand and correct that story if you know it is the wrong kind of story that is driving your experience, affecting your health, affecting your periods, because these things do affect your physical body. You know, a lot of times, any aches or pains in your body can actually be related to a memory or an event. Yeah,
Yes.
something, if you cannot process something, maybe, just an example, if as a kid you were not allowed to express anger, okay, your parents, maybe because your parents were so angry all the time that you were the one consoling them, pacifying them, or because you were the one who were told ki nahi, good girls don't act like this, don't shout like this in public, all of these things. So nobody does it with ill intention, but just with an intention to have a well mannered kid. But if you did not have an outlet to express your anger, maybe you learn to suppress it or live with it without expressing it. And that anger can actually does cause a lot of problems, like it could be BP, diabetes, but that is going into the 40s and 50s. But even earlier, you will see signs of mood swings. And similarly, even PCOD, PCOS, endometriosis, all of these can have emotional root causes.
Yeah, I think you'll be very volatile. And since Manomaya Kosha is composed of the air element, so any kind of overthinking or thought loops you're having, and if you're volatile,
Hmm.
if there is a lot of suppression that has happened, so any small thing, somebody casually commenting on your appearance or how you look, you
Hmm.
will get so triggered. You will get easily triggered by it, you know,
Right.
and you will have a, you maybe throw a fit and you don't express it then, but later on, maybe you go and shout at your maid, or maybe
Hmm.
you go and shout on anybody, or
Right.
don't shout, you start throwing around things, you know,
Right.
that anger will get carry forwarded to so many other things in your life,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's kind of making an a very unpleasant experience
Yeah.
for everyone around you, but for yourself, because you don't
Yeah.
want to be that way. That is not who you are. That is not who you are as a person.
Right.
But it's what's that experience is making of you. You know.
Yeah. And throwing things around is still a better version of not expressing at all. Some people don't
Yeah.
think about it. So, and that is the reason for BP and all these problems, I feel.
Yeah.
When
I I I know that, and I can speak from experience because whenever uh, I thought that I was not allowed to express a lot, and my family is really great. They are very supportive and you know receptive also to all my behavior, but I felt like I was not allowed to express my anger. So whenever I used to feel a moment or any incident which made me angry, instead of throwing things around or shouting at people, I used to just cry, because I used to think that maybe crying is the best way to let this emotion out, resolve
yeah,
this. Otherwise, it will just
keep it to
sit there.
yourself.
Yeah, then keep it to myself. Otherwise, it will just go around in my body and manifest as something else. And I have seen that whenever I have not cried out, because I'm a grown up girl and I'm not allowed to cry in public. So if I'm feeling angry, that has manifested as some or the other ache or pain in my body. And
Hmm.
I think people having neck pains or shoulder pains, they feel that उन्होंने पूरी दुनिया का भार उठा के रखा है अपने कंधों के ऊपर. That kind
Yes,
of a feeling,
right,
that you you are accountable for how other people interact with you. No,
yeah,
they are
absolutely,
responsible for it. Okay.
right, right, right.
Um, so I think, Richa, did you read that book, The Body Keeps the Score?
No, it's on my list, quite on top of the list, but I haven't got
Yeah.
around to reading it.
Yeah, so anybody who is listening, I'm just sharing my screen. Just a minute. Yes, so this is the book, and anyone who wants to start understanding how the mind and body work, and why it is the body keeps the score, because it actually does. Any kind of mental infliction of any incident that you are keeping to yourself, any kind of emotional suppression that you're keeping, it will manifest in your body in some way or the
Yeah,
other.
like
It
a
can,
physical pain or tightness.
yes. So you have a layer in your under your skin. It's called fascia, and it will tighten up, and it will your nerves can get knotted up. So a lot of these things are there at the physical level, which manifest from your emotional experience. You might be restricting your jaw for a long period of time, or you might be sitting hunched because you want to protect yourself. And if there is a very if there's something that is triggering you, or you're scared of something, or
Yeah,
you just want to
just
protect yourself from
yeah,
people, or
right.
if you're scared of expressing yourself, then also your body language becomes like this, right? uh, so you're afraid to put yourself out there, and that's why you're just going back and back in your shell. These kind of, you know, you will start observing once you start doing the work. And I think it's very small things that you will start noticing about yourself as well.
Right.
If you have a stomach pain, you'll feel like your stomach is all knotted up. And if you actually go for a massage, or if you start massaging yourself, you will understand where the knots are in your body.
Right.
And if you
Right.
release them, you will get a memory. Sometimes it has happened with me.
Yeah.
I was just massaging out myself in the stomach, and I got a memory from something that my mother had experienced. My mother told me the story about. So
Oh,
maybe the experience I derived from that, because it was a very painful story about something, and maybe the way it was told to me, or how she experienced, and it was passed on to me like genetically, or
mm-hmm.
as a memory in my body,
Yeah.
or the experience I took out of it. And the pain I felt at that moment, that was the exact memory I was getting when I was releasing that knot.
Right. Right. Right.
So your
Right.
body does keep the score, and anyone who wants to, just explore this topic, you can start reading this book. It has very good insights.
Right. Right. Amazing. And Namrata, since we are on the topic of emotions, I wanted to say one thing about emotions, that we have a tendency to put them into buckets of positive emotions and negative emotions. That's how we
Correct.
are talking. But it should not be like that. Every emotion is useful, and it is actually directing you towards something.
Yes.
Like anger, you should express it, and it's okay even if you're shouting. Everyone expresses it differently. If you're shouting, that just means that you're setting your boundaries with someone, or your boundaries were being violated. That's what anger means.
Anger,
And
I also thought, you shout, you tend to shout when you feel that you're not being heard. You're
you're
not
not
being
being
heard. Your voice is not important. That's why you tend
correct.
to act out and shout.
Correct.
So you want
Correct.
to make yourself important or relevant in this world or to the
Yeah.
people.
Yes. So every emotion has so much to teach you. So be it sadness, guilt, jealousy, anger, these are all not negative emotions. These are just your body processing the experience and trying to direct you in the right direction. Like
Yeah.
even with, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think I was just saying all these emotions, and you can take control of it, whatever you're feeling. So if you feel like you should not be angry at people so much, you can start listening to it. Even whatever we have learned, Richa, in yoga, that pain is always teaching you something. So these
Yeah,
emotions are always also guiding you, that you have to
correct.
learn something from it. So you
Yeah,
learn and you implement, and maybe next time somebody passes a remark at you, or calls you fat, or just makes a remark at your physical appearance, and you would have generally felt anger for that person or that situation, you would deal with it in a better way, and your body will not have to go through this process of being angry, because anger also, it releases a lot of stressful hormones,
yeah,
stress hormones, and it
yeah,
is a stressful situation for your body. It's in fight or flight. So I
correct.
think we can talk about fight or flight, and how your
Yeah,
body and brain is also processing
Right,
any kind of stress. Go ahead,
right,
Rishi.
right, right. So, yeah, so when you are in a stressful situation, actually there is a, you know, flip that switches on in your brain, okay? It's controlled by your amygdala and your hypothalamus. Okay, so hypothalamus is like your master gland situated deep inside of your brain. And that is going to control your whole nervous system. And you're either going to be in two modes, okay? Anytime in your body, you will either be in a active fight and flight mode. Okay, there are three, not two. Fight and flight mode, and then there is rest and digest, and then there is the balanced one also. So in yoga, this is also what we call the rajas, tamas, and the sattva. Okay, so anytime your hypothalamus activates because of a stressful situation or because you got triggered, someone said something, it is actually going to tell your adrenal glands. Okay, these are like small triangular shaped glands sitting at your lower back to produce the stress hormone cortisol to actually fight this stressful situation. So now in the ancient times, that stressful situation could actually be a tiger chasing you. But now in the modern times, we don't have the tiger chasing us anymore. But it could be anything that triggers you, right? And when that happens, your body, starts pumping the blood more faster. All the stress hormones are released in your body. And now, how is this related to menstrual cycle and hormones? Is that your stress hormones like cortisol actually take up the reserve of all raw materials required for your ovarian hormones. Okay, so the cortisol as well as the ovarian hormones are made from the same stuff. Okay, they're made from the same raw material. So all the raw material is going to go into making of the stress hormone, and nothing is going to be left to make estrogen, progesterone, and do your reproductive cycles. And that is how stress is directly linked to missing your periods or lack of ovulation or unable to conceive, because your
Right.
whole body is in the mood that, array, this is not the time to produce a baby, this is the time to protect ourselves and survive.
Correct, correct. तो जब भी आप स्ट्रेस में होते हो, people who are facing stress on a day-to-day basis, it can be coming from their outside environment or from their internal environment, right? आप अगर स्ट्रेस एक्सपीरियंस कर रहे हो, then it is directly telling your brain कि please stop all the other vital functions, क्योंकि right now staying alive is the most vital function. तो
Correct.
अगर आपका फाइट और फ्लाइट मोड एक्टिवेटेड है, तो आप हमेशा हाई अलर्ट पे रहोगे, और your body will only produce hormones that are important to run or to, you know, fight or flight. तो आप या तो लड़ने के लिए रेडी रहोगे
Correct.
physically with your hormones, or to flight or to run away from the situation,
Right.
to run away from the tiger. So up there's no tiger chasing you. So whenever you're feeling that you're stressed, you have to remind yourself that there is no tiger chasing you physically. Actually इतनी बड़ी problem नहीं है that your body has to experience it in such a way.
Right. Correct.
क्योंकि आपका बॉडी डाइजेशन भी बंद कर देगा, आपको गैस होने लगेगी, ब्लोटिंग होने लगेगा, यू विल फील कॉन्स्टिपेटेड. सो this is this is like one of the most vital functions. Digestion is one of the, but your brain will be like, this is also not important right now, I have to run.
Right. Correct.
So
Correct.
this is very important for you to understand how stress is telling your body, baki sab band karo, all the other workshops need to be shut down, only you have to fight or flight. So,
Right.
eh, so you remain activated in that state. Your body thinks you're not have to produce a baby. कोई जरूरत नहीं है ovulation करने की, egg release करने की, and your whole period cycle is thrown off, and
Correct.
it becomes a long cycle. You don't get a period, you miss a period, you don't get periods for months,
Right.
and then you keep going to the gynec, and then you get these artificial hormones,
Right.
artificial pills that you have to take to trigger a false period. By the way, it's not a true period that you're having. A true
Right.
period will only be if your hormones are in balance, and uh, how the natural process goes through.
Yeah.
So I think, do we have, should we pull off that diagram just to explain to people? Is that
Yeah.
necessary?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
okay.
can share that. Yes. And yeah, that diagram is just a simple one telling you, how our master gland is actually controlling your ovaries, your adrenal glands. So I talk about this in my 3-day fertility reset program as well. Uh, because like people are just focusing on the ovaries, but what is actually controlling the ovaries and what is actually making sure that your body has enough raw material to make the hormones is actually your stress response. So just a simple diagram, your hypothalamus is deep inside of your brain, and from that, the hypothalamus and pituitary are next to each other in the brain, and from there actually is where your whole stress response, your menstrual cycle, everything is directed. Yeah. So we have a set of hormones, FSH, LH. Like no need to get deep into science, but these are basically communication that your brain, your hypothalamus is telling your ovaries, okay, now produce the egg, okay, now shed the lining, uh, and yeah, now let's drop the estrogen and progesterone to get the periods. Everything is controlled by your master gland. And with that, I think we have a couple of strategies to share with you, practices to share with you. If you are feeling like you are stressed, you are in fight or flight mode, this is something you can do to snap out of it and calm down, get your body back to the rest and digest and reproduce mode. So
Yeah.
I think
Before
with
that,
that,
Richa, I
yeah,
think before that, Richa, I would also like to discuss very small lifestyle habits that we are building that also create stress
yeah,
physically in
right.
the body. Uh, for example, long screen times and
Hmm.
not sleeping on time, staying awake late in the night. I particularly experienced a lot of period problems after I had started having irregular sleep patterns. That is, I
Hmm.
was not sleeping until 3 or 4 in the morning, and
Hmm.
I was actually staying alone during that time in COVID, and it was a very chaotic state
Hmm.
to generally be in. But I never stayed alone in an entire house before, and I was experiencing fear all the time. So I
Hmm.
used to sleep late a lot, and
Hmm.
because of stress, we also know, because a lot of cortisol in your system, आपके स्लीप साइकिल भी डिसरप्ट होती है. अगर आपके पास आपकी बॉडी में बहुत ज्यादा cortisol है, फाइट और फ्लाइट पे हो, तो आपको नींद भी नहीं आएगी. तो your sleep time also shifts backwards, more and more backwards, and that completely will disrupt all your functions and all the cycles in your body. अगर आपका
Right.
sleep time पे नहीं है, तो सब कुछ disrupt होगा. And
Definitely.
that, it's a very recent learning that I have also come across, and very simple thing like sleeping on time. Once I started doing that, my periods also started coming back on time.
Wow.
So ऐसा नहीं है कि आपको कुछ बहुत बड़ा चीज करना है to bring your periods back on track or to bring your hormonal cycle back on track. They're very small shifts, lifestyle shifts. Once you start realizing it, these are very simple things that you can do to bring your
Right.
hormones back on track. That is sleeping on time, reducing screen time, especially after at least 1 to 2 hours before you're sleeping. You should cut down on screen time, but in today's world, it's not possible because पूरे दिन you're either sitting on a laptop or a phone,
Yeah.
because the nature of our work has become like that. तो
Right.
कुछ ऐसी एक्टिविटी आप इंक्लूड कर सकते हो, which I think Richa will share about the breathing and
Yeah.
the other
Yeah.
chanting parts. That will actually help you come into the rest and digest mode.
Right. Correct.
What else,
And
Richa? What other, day to day और क्या ऐसी चीजें होती है which are causing the hormonal imbalances?
yeah, so because you mentioned that it's not possible to completely be off your devices after sunset, one hack is that to get a red filter on your devices. Okay, so like, oh, it's blurred. My mobile, you
Yeah,
can see it's had a
yeah,
red tint. So you can put this red tint on your mobile. It's there in the settings of iPhone. I think Android may he have, and this will block out the blue light, coming in from the screen.
Basically,
So
any blue light, right?
any blue light, yeah,
Any
you can
blue
block
screen
it.
filter will do.
Yeah, right. Even for laptop, you can put a red filter, or wear those goggles that actually block out the blue light. This is what
There's a
you can
night
do.
mode. नाइट मोड भी आता है बहुत सारे phones और laptops में.
Yeah, but night mode will only switch the white background to black background,
Okay.
but it will not actually kill all the blue light that is
Oh,
coming
okay.
of all the apps.
Okay.
Yeah, especially Instagram and all. I
Hmm.
mean, you have to stop using them closer to bedtime because they're so stimulating. All the content
Yes.
that is there on that is meant for you to be, scrolling longer than that. Yeah, so screen time is one thing. What are the other lifestyle things?
I
I
said
can think
sleeping on time, and the other I can think is eating on time. And I have
eating.
been told like a lot of times that you have to eat your meals at proper intervals, not expose yourself. क्योंकि अगर आप ऑलरेडी बॉडी में बहुत ज्यादा कॉर्टिजोल है, अगर आप लंबे लंबे टाइम तक उस खाना नहीं खा रहे हो, it will
Right,
generate a stress response, more and more stress response in your body. If you're starving yourself for food,
right,
not eating, you will have
right,
more and more cortisol secreted in your body. So
correct.
अगर आप already stressed हो, before adopting any diet or any kind of fasting methods, क्योंकि आजकल fasting का बहुत trend है that people are
Hmm,
intermittent fasting कर रहे हैं. It is good for people who already don't have high cortisol levels. Am I
correct.
correct?
Yeah, yes, you're right. In many cases, like stress, adrenal PCOS. Okay, we have different kind of PCOS also. So if your stress is the driving factor for your PCOS, then there's no point giving your body more stress because fasting is a mildly stressful situation, and that's what works for it. But
Hmm.
in case you're already having a disorder which is driven by stress, then it does not work to be fasting for more than 12 hours, 14
Hmm.
hours, definitely
Hmm.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also getting more of natural sunlight. Uh,
Correct.
the first thing that you wake up and you see should be the sky and the daylight and not your mobile screens again.
Right.
All of these little things.
Because it keeps you in the loop to check your phone the whole day.
Yeah,
I don't know, I was seeing a podcast maybe. They said that the first thing you do is see watching content on Insta the first thing you wake up. It
yeah,
keeps you wired to check your
yeah,
phone the whole day
yeah,
or Insta or कोई message आया कि नहीं, कोई mail आया कि नहीं. So you're
right,
always
right,
glued to your phone. And
yeah.
I have myself observed that if if for 1 or 2 days I am doing that, then the whole day I will be checking my phone for something or the other.
Hmm.
So yeah, that will also help a lot reducing screen time, generally sleeping
Yeah.
on time, eating on time. Very basic thing, guys.
Basic things. Yes. Yeah. So,
Anyway,
uh,
yeah,
yeah, if the viewers you are having any questions, put it in the chat box. In our streaming software, somehow the comments are not showing up, but I am checking it side by side on my mobile phone. So put in, and even if you're watching the recording of this, do put it in
yeah,
the comments, and we will address
yeah,
it in the next episode.
definitely. Or in
Yeah.
the comment section itself, I think
Yeah.
we can respond.
Yeah. We can.
Um, Okay, so I think I'll just sum it up the whole how Manomaya Kosha is the guiding element behind Manomaya Kosha is Vayu or air element, and all the Vayus are basically the vibrations which are running in your body. So if your mental body is in a fight or flight situation, then you can bring it back. The uh, the most effective way that has been described in yoga also to bring it back to a healing mode or homeostasis is by mantra chanting. Mantras are kind of like a vibrational antibiotic system for you, so it will help drive away, balance out the bios and drive away any negative emotions that you are experiencing or any stress that you're experiencing because it immediately puts you from a fight or flight to sorry to a sympathetic to a parasympathetic mode, right?
Yes, that's right.
So, yeah, go ahead, Richard, the exercise that we are going to share.
Yes, yes. So, what I am going to share is very simple, just paying attention to your breath. Okay, so wherever, and you can do this throughout the day, whenever you're feeling stressed, or even otherwise, just connecting with your body uh, will, put your body into rest and digest mode. Or you could do it before sleeping, and before meals is a very good time to put your body in the rest and digest mode. Okay, so just you keep your one hand on your chest and another on your belly. It could be either hand, left or right, no problem. And just sit up straight and close your eyes and just observe your breath. And you are not trying to change your breath, but just observing it, the air coming in and filling your lungs, going into each and every part of your body, nourishing each and every cell of your body, and the air going out with an exhale, leaving you with a relaxation. Stay with your breath for two more breaths as you inhale and exhale. And last breath that you're going to observe. And slowly come back, open your eyes, and this was just 1 minute to bring back and connect to your body. And actually, I had some tension in my jaw because I'm talking during your podcast, and I could feel that, and that's the beauty of this, just being aware of your breath. All the tensions and tightness, stiffness in your body will actually start to melt away. And if you have more time, you can actually add chanting of Om, just 6 to 9 chanting of Om. And yeah, that is the mantra that works on your Manomaya Kosha.
I think minimum 9 chantings.
Yeah,
Is that?
like
Yeah.
in sets of three always. So either 3, 6, 9.
Okay. And chanting because vibration opens your vocal cords and uh, it expands your lungs also, your breathing also. There are a lot of things. There's not just verbal chanting that's happening. There's a lot of uh, vayu regulation that's happening if
Yeah,
you're chanting just Om or any mantra that is given to you by your guru. The chanting will bring you back into from fight or flight to a healing mode
right.
and to a relaxed mode. And I think throughout the day, if you start observing how many times you feel stressed, if you bring awareness back to your body, because mostly it will be some kind of overthinking that's happening, and all overthinking is excessive vayu that is trapped. So if you're thinking, like if you are experiencing an overthinking or having an obsessive thought, that you can't get rid of an obsessive thought or an intrusive thought, just maybe bring attention back to your body or listen to a mantra or just start chanting the mantra or any kind of deep breathing or any kind of attention to breath. I think it will just help you get rid of the thought, and it will break the pattern right there, that
Right.
pattern of stress that will start creating, because a stressful thought, it triggers a chain reaction in your body.
Hmm.
You will stop it right then and there.
Right.
uh, from Sujok therapy also, I want to share something, Richa. We know that hypothalamus is like the master gland for everything, and vagus nerve is the nerve that is responsible uh, for a lot of. It's like the most important. nerve in your body that helps you regulate all the functions, and especially
Mm.
if you're experiencing stress. So, if you have relaxed your vagus nerve, then it will help relax all the stress response in your body and it will push you to a healing state.
Mm.
So, if anyone is experiencing a stressful situation, they're having pain, or they just can't get out of that obsessive thought loop, they can take their thumb and they can start pressing the top part of the thumb, you know, the crown of the thumb. So this will tell your hypothalamus. This directly sends signals to your hypothalamus and pituitary. So just keep massaging.
Mm.
It will send more energy and the ability to deal with the stressful situation. And
Okay.
then uh, these points are for your vagus nerve and for all the yeah. I think this will also help you bring back to a relaxed state. So massage these points, these thumb points on both the hands for a minute. Start with 30 seconds if you feel a minute is too much. Massaging these points and let us know in the comments if this helped you in any way. And if there was a situation you were handling and you think that, maybe you can start pressing these points and it can get you even a little bit of relief, even 1/10 of relief, do let us know. So
So this
maybe in
has to
next,
be
yes,
this has to be done on both the thumbs, or can I do it on just one thumb, any one side?
both thumbs are effective because uh, your nerves and the nadis function on both sides, right? It's not
Okay.
just a one side process.
Okay.
Sometimes one side is more effective, but if you press it and if you feel there is pain on one side more, then means that that thumb or that part of your body is more stressed or dealing with more stress physiologically.
Okay.
So you try to resolve pain there, or you spend more time there, maybe 30
Mm.
seconds more over there.
Mm. All right.
Okay.
Great. Okay, so I think we come to the end of this episode, and next episode is going to be on next Sunday, 10 a.m. And this time we are going to dive into Pranamaya Kosha, right, Namrata?
Yes. Yes.
So yes, that is your energy body. So we are going to look into how the energy affects your period cycles, and period cycle affects your energy. We all already know that.
Yes.
So we will be diving deep into that. So thank you everyone, those who have watched. Please leave in a comment, either your questions or just your experience. We want to know from you as well, and we will answer you in the comments.
Yeah, experience sharing is also fine in the comments, because this podcast has started because we started sharing our experiences with each other. And this is what we wanted to also share with people through this podcast. So definitely go ahead and fire in the comment section about your experience of whatever we spoke. Can you relate to it, or are we just blabbering by ourselves?
Right.
Okay.
All
See
right.
you next
So
week, Richa.
bye. See you, Namrata.
Bye.
Bye.